Again, before we begin, that we fill the room up from the front. So those who are sitting at the back, if we may kindly just find some open seats towards the front of the hall and take our seats there, please. This is just to allow those who will come in while the program is ongoing to sneak in and find a seat quietly without causing too much disruption. Ladies and gentlemen, let me, while she's busy with a quick radio interview, just recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Environment and Tourism, Me Filda Kiring. We truly appreciate that she has made the time in her schedule to be here with us for day 2 of the Botswana Tourism and Investment Summit. My name is Penyo Moroka, and I'll be your program director for the morning portion of today's program. Now, I missed most of yesterday, so I think I want to do just a quick poll to get some sense of how the day went. I did get an opportunity to have a chat with Jazz and Joey, who I believe took very good care of you yesterday. But I'd like to hear from the room, if I may, some key words to indicate how the day went. There's a lot of people that I know, so I don't want to have to pick on someone, but I will if I have to. Just throw a word out there. Debate, robust, engaging, insightful. Which of these words kind of represent how the day went yesterday? Anyone? No takers? Okay, I will leave it there for the sake of time. But in my chat with Jazz and Joey, they told me that the day was a day of spirited discussion and somewhat robust debate. I heard a lot about the panel discussions that were very, very engaging. And I have every confidence that today will maintain that same momentum. Before we go into today, however, please let me invite the Group CEO of ITIC and Invest Tourism, Mr. Ibrahim Ayub, to share reflections on the first day of the summit.
Thank you so much. I'll start saying good morning and Jumela. Thank you. So, like the MC has said, there was quite an engaging day yesterday. So I'm here to give you some key takeaways, what happened yesterday, right? And I think there are some scoops, I would say, some good news that I'm going to tell you what we gathered of the long hours of discussion and engagement. So I would say that this Botswana Tourism Investment Summit has been instrumental, raising the interest of one of the world's growing airline, Fly Dubai, in looking for the market prospect offered by Botswana. His Honor, the Vice President outlined the vision of the investment landscape of Botswana and mentioned Botswana is ready to welcome investors in the tourism sector. And Botswana has the incentive to cater for their needs. Just to go through a very quick outline on what are those incentives. Botswana is stable, peaceful, and transparent, the best in Africa. Botswana provides a peaceful and stable environment to its citizens and investors and has maintained peace since its independence in 1966. It has zero tolerance for corruption and boosts a sound legal system and adhere to rule of law. Botswana has been consistently rated as the second least corrupt country in Africa by Transparency International and is committed to sound fiscal policy, economic freedom, and has steady and dramatic growth rate. The destination has the highest sovereignty credit rating by AFRCA, by Standard & Poor's, in Africa by Standard & Poor's Global Rating in 2021. It has been named third freest economy in Africa by Heritage Foundation in 2022. So that speaks for itself. On the investment incentive, I mean, it's the lowest corporate tax in the SADC region, no restriction on business ownership, duty rebates on raw materials imported, duty rebate on importation of machinery, 10 years negotiable tax holiday, no foreign exchange control, remittance, and full repatriation of profit, deductible training rebate up to 200%. I mean, all these are some of the incentives which makes it a conducive place to do business. When you look at the special economic zone, I mean, there is a special economic zone that can be created. You heard about Ras Al Khaimah, how they built the destination yesterday. Duty-free imports on specialist plant and machinery for manufacturing, waiver and transfer duty of land, property, and tax exemption for 5 years, and zero-rated VAT on over raw materials and raw materials that they are bringing for investment. I mean, this has been, you have heard also, though, the incentive from Batani, Mr. Batani, Dr. Batani Walter Matikani, Director of Macroeconomic Policy of the Ministry of Finance, and also during the conversation of Dr. Keith Jeffries and Professor Ian Golding from the Oxford University. I mean, I come back again on that real, the scoop of the day of Fly Dubai CEO, Gate Al Gates, stated that, I mean, they have ordered 30 of the latest Boeing Dreamliners plane. He explained to extend its network to viable destination in Africa, which is a land of offering high potential to his air carrier. He added that he is seeking to broaden his engagement with Botswana to reach a workable solution. For his part, Mr. Ashfaq Pauline, Director of the Tourism Park, Nature Park in Mauritius, which has built up a successful project there in Mauritius for the past 25 years, has voiced out yesterday that he is ready to come on and invest in Botswana to replicate a similar nature park, which is going to be the best in the Southern African region. And they are ready to look at investment ranging from $5 to $10 million for that first phase. And then go to a second to a third. I was chatting with him quickly this morning, and he reiterates this commitment and second and third phase over the next few years to build up luxury eco-lodges and accommodation facilities with conferencing, restaurant, wedding, and so forth, like they have in Mauritius. The project can go up to 50 million plus. That's what I would say. So they are here for the next few days in order to look at the different locations, and at the same time then embarking into the feasibility study and start talking with the authorities to start implementing this project. But I must say that this discussion with the government of Botswana has started a couple of months ago, and it's on the right track for such project to be implemented. And the government is looking at this project very carefully. IFC, one our partners of the Botswana Tourism Investment Summit, led by the regional director, Claudia Conceição. I mean, the investment arm of the World Bank is keen to support financing laudable initiative in Botswana, based, of course, on bankable and viable project to develop the tourism landscape in the destination and promote at the same time social inclusion and local communities. We have heard on the panel yesterday, IFC is contributing through its funding to the greening and of all hotels, and is focusing its investment on and financing on the tourism industry, especially hotels, due to the strategic reason of commercial viability and environmental sustainability. For his part, the World Bank representative of Botswana, Liang Wang, said that he felt very bullish about the tourism sector of Botswana, which is already contributing 10% of the economy, and stressed the importance of diversifying the Botswana tourism product for international visitors to spend more time and money in the country. One of the key, I would say, discussion yesterday during the ministerial panel, Honorable Minister Hilda Kering mentioned about young artistic talent and could encourage, develop branding of Botswana through film, and that destination with its unique landscape could be used as a location by international film industry, right, by shooting. And that, when you bring international, film, Hollywood and so forth, so it will at the same time bring the awareness of travel and heightening the awareness of the destination globally. And Botswana has all the ingredients to do so. And that idea was supported by Minister Edmund Bartlett from Jamaica, who is of opinion that this challenge can be taken up by creating a conducive environment and offering the right fiscal incentive to attract international film producers in the destination. And of course, Minister Kering mentioned about all the incentive. Botswana is ready to welcome investors in sustainable investment in the country. The country is big. There's a land of opportunities. It's a place where you have numerous opportunities to to bring investment and develop new projects, and to serve as a hub in the Southern African region. Right. The EU, for its part, we have seen a video of Honorable Elena Kuntura, a member of European Parliament, who mentioned the EU is ready to engage with Botswana in sustainable investment path of the destination. And that has been reiterated by the EU Ambassador Petra Pereira, EU Ambassador of the Republic of Botswana, and the SADC, talk about the support of the European Union in infrastructural development and in bringing on board the private sector to invest in Botswana tourism value chain, especially eco-tourism initiatives so that they benefit to the local communities while protecting the biodiversity. One of the other key points we heard yesterday from Milat Investment, which emphasized the CEO Hamza Faruqi, who has developed Hyatt hotels in South Africa, emphasized the importance of Botswana to have the presence of well-known international brand to build credibility in a customer-centric industry like tourism and to de-risk the market. During the summit, we have had a few projects presented, and two of the projects that were picked up were presented by Acting CEO Ketsumetsi Setlang of the Kasane and Kazungula were showcased. These two towns are located in the northern part of Botswana along a 14-kilometer waterfront site and adjoining the Chobe National Park. They have been endowed with development areas of investment in tourism comprising of residential estate and spa. It's a mixed-use development. We comprise also a waterfront and marina, conference and event center, and leisure hub, to try to bring that place as a leisure hub. Last but not least, the summit explored the issue to be addressed for empowering women. And here we have to quote about the CEO of HATAB, Lily Rakorong, based herself on the statistic report of 2019 from Department of Tourism to highlight that 60% of workforce in the tourism industry of Botswana are women, and say that although the institutional and policy frameworks such as National Vision 2036 are supporting gender equality, women participation in the tourism industry should be evaluated in terms of ownership, shareholding, joint venture, employment level, and to be fully empowered. Well, that are the main key takeaways from yesterday of this first day conference, which has been very engaging. But one part that I would say, we are here to look at projects that are presented in this summit. So basically, you will hear around 17 projects that will be presented on screen. We have created a deal room, which is in the Okavango suite. So investors who are here, I mean, I will come to you later. I see few of you are here, and we will be engaging together. So I know there's a time that has been slotted for meeting about the potential investment in Botswana. I mean, there are couples of them that are exhibiting in the deal room. There are interesting projects to look at, and maybe we should go and engage, not maybe, we must go and see them one by one during the day, the course of the day, and look at the opportunities that they are offering in order to promote sustainable investment into the destination. I must point out that after this summit, post-summit, ITIC and BTO, we are partnering together. We will continue to engage with everybody who has submitted their project to us. We will look carefully about their bankability, their viability, advising them so that we are able to bring investment into the project. We cannot promise about the timing, but what we can promise is that we will be engaging with them so that we can bring them we can take the time needed so that we can structure the investment needed into the projects. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, sir, for that very thorough recap of yesterday and for laying the foundation for the focus of today's session very well. A quick one just for the investors in the room. Ayub just touched on the deal room meetings, and there has been a slight change to the program. I believe initially it was supposed to be around 10 o'clock this morning. It is now happening at 1 p.m., still at the Okavango suite across at the hotel. So those deal room meetings with the project developers will now happen at lunchtime from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. this afternoon. Now, having said that, and with the foundation so ably laid for the focus of today, it is now my great pleasure to introduce our moderator for the first panel discussion of today. She really does need no introduction. I was here and I've had a look at the program. I've said definitely one of the hardest workers of the conference, of the summit. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to invite and help me welcome to the stage Ms. Carmen Roberts, travel writer and presenter at the BBC, who is going to be moderating our first panel this morning on investment and financing sustainable tourism projects, unlocking innovative business models in the tourism sector. This being a case study of successful investments in Botswana tourism.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. Is my mic working? It is. It is. Excellent. So this session will not only showcase successful investments in the tourism industry of Botswana, but it will also highlight the decisive role of banks and investors in turning the dreams of several entrepreneurs and visionaries into a reality. And hopefully you'll come away with the building blocks needed for a successful tourism investment project. So let me introduce our panelists. First, we have Cross Kosidile, Managing Director of Botswana Development Corporation. The BDC was established in 1970 and is the government's main investment arm. Please come to the stage. Thank you. Next up, we have Guido Giachetti. He is the Executive Chairman of RDC Property Group. Mr. Giachetti has been involved in property development and investments for over 32 years. And interestingly, RDC has the largest property portfolio on the Botswana Stock Exchange. Welcome. Next up, we have Kaletso Bogatsu, General Manager of Grand Palm Hotel, Casino and Convention Resort. This lovely establishment that we're in now. Kaletso has over 25 years experience in the hospitality industry, starting out with Protea Hotels, and has worked across the region in South Africa and Nigeria. And last but not least, we have Oneletso Kesa Abetswe. Sorry, I was practicing all morning. Onelena Kesa Abetswe, head of investment banking at Stanbic Bank, Botswana. Kesa Abetswe focuses on corporate debt structures and property finance. Welcome. First up, let's start with Cross Kosadile. Can you explain just briefly the role of the BDC and explain, give an example of a successful project so that we can gain some insight into the factors that are needed?
Thank you very much. Good morning. BDC is the government's main investment arm, and it's also a development finance institution. It has a very long history, and I believe its footprints are in every sector of the economy, because traditionally its strategy has been very sector agnostic. We focus on all the sectors, including the tourism sector. And actually, if you look at almost all the pioneering tourism assets in this country, they have one or the other some linkages with the Botswana Development Corporation. In its early years, it provided infrastructure to tourism companies. If you look at, for instance, tourism and hospitality, even where we are here, these are some of the infrastructure that has been provided by BDC. You look at the Cresta Maracanelo Group. It used to operate mainly in the hotels that were owned by BDC. If you go to all the tourism areas in the country, especially the key ones, you go to Chobe, there are BDC assets there. You go to Mashatu Nature Reserve, BDC has got its footprints over there, as well as in Mau.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Yeah.
And how much of, I guess this is also a question for Stanbic Bank as well, how much importance is sustainability put on the projects? When a project comes to you and they have their outline, how much emphasis is placed on sustainability?
Yeah. I think BDC is largely self-funding, which means we do raise own capital in order to own land to the promoters for the various projects. Sustainability becomes key in the sense that if you look at our funders, for instance, they expect to be paid back whatever we have borrowed from them. And also, if we invest in a project, our expectation is that it must yield some returns, it must create economic value, and we should be able to come out of those projects and reinvest in others so that we are able to empower citizens by divesting from our former projects. This means sustainability to us as a developmental organization is very important. One, like I said, from a return point of view, that we need to continue earning a return to be able to reinvest. Two, we want projects that can make an impact in the community. Like I said, we are not sector agnostic. Therefore, we go into other sectors such as, for instance, healthcare, because we want the communities to benefit from such projects. Other than that, we are also conscious of the environment to say our projects should not harm the environment because we want continuity, and the only way we can achieve it is to ensure that the environment is safe and we are able to operate in perpetuity.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Kesa Abetswe, can you tell me about Stanbic Bank's point of view? What are the success factors that you look for, and how much of a factor is sustainability?
All right. Thank you, Carmen. And I think we spent quite a lot of time practicing my last name. We omitted to do that for my first name, but I'm Onalena Kesa Abetswe, just Ona for short. Okay. Just a bit about Stanbic. I think we've been in the Botswana market as a commercial bank for just over 30 years. Regionally and internationally, we are part of the Standard Bank Group, so you'll notice our shield logo being unanimous across the region. From an investment banking perspective, there are two main things that we focus on. Firstly, and this is our primary business, we provide debt funding to businesses operating in the market. But secondly, which is an upcoming avenue that we're offering in our market, is offering advisory services around the raising of capital. So it's not only about Stanbic providing debt capital to operators in the market, but it's also about us advising how best to access capital that's there in the market, because we as a bank are not the only type of capital provider. So we can play a bit more of a role to operators in the market. From a critical success factor perspective, look, I think obviously from a business model perspective, there would be subject matter experts within tourism itself. But what I would just like to touch on a bit is what would look like success from a funder's perspective that we can sort of lean on when we do our assessment on our side. I think first and foremost, it's just in terms of long-term access to your primary assets that you are operating from as an operator. For us to provide you long-term debt capital, obviously we need that certainty to be able to know that, okay, this operator has maybe a 20-year concession. And this is essentially where government support can even come in for those operators that don't necessarily own their own assets, but to know that there's government support to give them the assets to be able to operate from. I think just going on to that, one of the success factors we look for is around proven sustainability of earnings. I think just allow me to take a moment to contextualize this. I think through the business cycle, there's different paths. There's the early stage, there's the growth stage, maturity, et cetera, et cetera. From a bank funding perspective, our main focus would be from the growth stage to the mature stage. That does not mean that greenfield projects are not able to raise funding, but it's just that our main focus, given how we are structured, we would focus more around the growth phase and the mature phase. And what typically gives the comfort for us to be able to support businesses in the growth phase and the mature phase is a proven sustainability of earnings. So if you look back to how far they've been operating, things like average bed nights, things like sustainability of earnings, things like the degree of operating leverage to make sure that not overly indebted with overheads, things like that certainly give us some comfort in terms of sustainability of earnings of the business. I have a few more points, but the one last one I'd like to touch on is in terms of diversity of offering to the market. I think oftentimes you will find that some projects are very similar in nature to others and operating right from the same region, and then the question might be, why have you supported this one but not been able to support the other? For us, it's quite imperative that there's clear differentiating factors that are targeting very specific parts of the market. The more that is more specific, the better it looks for us. That's not to say that where somebody has an offering that's very generic and diverse, we won't be able to support. I think there then the strength of the earnings is then an overarching factor more than anything. So just wanted to give a view on some of the success factors that we would look for, particularly from a funding perspective.
Oh, that's really interesting about the diversity, that you look at that impact on the market as a whole. Yeah. Let's cross over to Mr. Diakete now. It's very interesting that RDC has a lot of properties outside of Botswana, so your portfolio is quite diverse. Could you explain a bit about the real estate industry and also what RDC does and how it can help investment in Botswana?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody, and especially the minister that is here to honor us this morning. For those of us that are here this morning, it's a pleasure to have the minister, because those that were here yesterday afternoon didn't have the pleasure to be heard by the minister. Thank you, Minister. Yeah, we are a little bit of an example of what an foreign investor could actually do in the country. We started many years ago, and I listed a property fund in 1992. 96 was a year of transformation. We started working with the pension funds. We never had the pleasure of working with BDC because we funded by ourselves with capital raised on the stock exchange. In fact, it was through the suggestion of the President Mohai, His Excellency the President, that we actually invested in hospitality. And the first project of ours was in Chobe Marina Lodge, which is a lodge in the north.
Yes.
Clearly that made our interest in hospitality. And we grew the portfolio. At a certain point, our portfolio Botswana was a little hub for us to invest outside of the country, and we raised funding on the market here through bonds and equity, and we acquired a portfolio outside of the country. We invested in Madagascar, where we have a lodge, and in Joburg, in Rosebank, we did an hotel, which is the Radisson Red. So basically, we started investing from Botswana outside, and the catalyst to the fundraising was a large investment here in Gaborone, which is one of the hotels and mixed-use development. So what you really see is the strength of Botswana because of its political stability and the capital available on the market through the pension funds. We managed to then invest abroad. Now we have a portfolio which is, for Botswana, fairly large, of which 75% is outside of the country. So I believe that this is a way for the Botswana economy to actually diversify, because the benefit of our pension fund holders that have shares of our company will actually be felt in the next 30 years with portfolios outside of the country. So in terms of hospitality, they represent 13% of our portfolio. What has made really that sustainable for us is, I think, and things that people don't really say all the time, is one is trust empirical data. So look at the figures and not what so-called consultants tell you, because if you look at the market, by looking at empirical data which exist in the market, for example, in the hospitality, they'll tell you what the average room rates are achieved by the different products. And by doing that, you actually see what is really on the ground. Clearly, unless you have a product that is completely out of the market, then those are data that are real facts. So, it is important, because some of the hotel groups that invest in different locations, and typically Botswana, you'd have seen at the beginning of, they come here, they think, oh, the average room rates are very high, and in fact they are not very high. So one has to become sustainable, one has to look at hard facts. Okavango carries some very high average room rates, but the availability of land is not there. So government could possibly help in that, providing leases, providing the infrastructure for tourism to be investing in those spaces. Chobe, for example, is another area in Botswana which is quite endowed with the Chobe National Park, but there's a lot of properties already there, and if you look at the average room rates, there's a lot of competition. So again, it's not that I'm trying to protect where we are, but you can see where the markets are by looking at the statistics. And I think it's important to determine those areas that are new, pristine areas where there is potential for investment. So that renders a project sustainable. From a ESG point of view, clearly hospitality is a fantastic opportunity for the country. It employs, we've already heard it, the employment is very high. And the fact that we employ essentially citizens in all our properties, that is important, because it creates, every employment generated supports the large family structures. And you have cultural investment, because we invest a lot in supporting the cultural tours and cultural activities. So I'm taking an example. We started with some kids doing some shows on some traditional dance at Chobe Marina Lodge. Now those kids are now become teenagers, and they're even grown, and we provide them an opportunity to earn money over their lifetime. And they've been with us for 20 years. So those groups of cultural activities are integral part of the growth of our portfolio. So I think the effect of investment in tourism is even wider than other commercial investments.
That's true, and I love that you've invested in the youth, because as we know, Africa has the largest youth population in the world, and that shows a lot of foresight, doesn't it, to invest in these youngsters and foster them, and they can grow within your hotel and resort projects. So that brings us nicely on to Kaletso Bogatsu. From an operations side, you know, you're at the helm of one of the premier MICE places in Gaborone. Hold on, I've mispronounced that as well. Gaborone. So tell me about your perspective from an operations side of things.
Thank you, Carmen. And yes, you are so correct in saying that we do have such a unique product, and we are blessed to be able to facilitate the amount of conventions that come through here from an international point of view. So just to touch on the history of why collaboration and investment is so important, more especially in the tourism and hospitality industry. So Piedmont has been in Botswana since 1995. They're a South African-based company. They came in here and collaborated with BDC. BDC, who's the shareholder of the property that we are at the moment. So when Piedmont started as a management company in Botswana, the only facility that was available in the property was the Walmont, which is the main hotel. And that only included the two conference rooms, the Okavango and the Moremi. Piedmont then later on invested in the building of the Metcourt Inn and the casino as it stands today. Just to showcase the collaboration between the two shareholders, in this case being the BDC and Piedmont, BDC then built this structure that we are at the moment that is called the Gaborone International Convention Center. It was actually the first ICC in Botswana. We've obviously, subsequently to that, Botswana has built a couple of other ICCs in various parts of the country. And I think in that it just showcased why it's so important for collaboration of the two big brands to take place. And you know, obviously it has contributed to the GDP growth or the tourism industry, and not just the growth of it from that point of view, but in a lot of aspects, you know, from an employment point of view, from just injecting into the tourism industry and giving other investors the opportunity to realize this relationship that actually has been going on for 28 years and still going strong till today. We are hoping, obviously, in doing more projects together. In later years, the two shareholders have actually acquired what we call the Mondio, which is 12 kilometers across the city. They've also both acquired a property in Francistown called the Metcourt Inn Hotel that has got 56 keys, and which also includes the Citibank Casino. So it is possible that two brands of this nature can collaborate to expand and give value to the tourism industry, as we are seeing with Piedmont and BDC.
That's great. So these new properties that you're talking about, are they going to be MICE properties or business hotels? What are we looking at in coming up in the future?
Obviously, our intention at the moment as Botswana and our focus is to create a MICE industry. And if there are going to be any plans of BDC and Piedmont taking this further, it will be to enhance what it is that we've already got. So I think that's the focus, not only for Piedmont and BDC, but I think the focus for the country, because once you mature that MICE industry, everything else becomes a ripple effect. And it just creates a whole new dimension in terms of employment and enhancing of the tourism status.
Yes, there seems to be a lot happening in the MICE sector across Botswana, indeed. So that is interesting. But I think one of the key themes not only of this investment summit, but also in recent years across the industry is collaboration, which you really touched on. How important is collaboration? Let's ask Cross Kosidile. How important is collaboration, but not only with big brands, can larger brands collaborate with smaller brands like SMEs, for instance? Is there a place in the market for that?
Thank you very much. I think collaboration is key for us, I think from two dimensions. One, established brands have set standards in terms of the service that they render. That assures potential customers the comfort and the level of service that they want. Secondly, they have proven commitment to what they are doing. To us, that is what you call skin in the game. When you collaborate with larger brands, normally they've already met the requirements to demonstrate skin in the game. And therefore, you are assured of a partnership that is going to be durable. As I have indicated, with BDC, because we also have a developmental mandate, once we achieve a mature relationship with a mature brand, we seek to exit in order to fulfill some of the developmental obligations. It can be one, to broaden the private sector participation. Two, it can be issues of economic inclusion to ensure that we accommodate women investors, we accommodate youth investors, we accommodate citizens in general. So we see a lot of opportunities in terms of larger brands being able to collaborate with smaller brands through BDC's initiatives. We are also able to invest in terms of equity participations. That helps us to hold, I would say, shareholding on behalf of the smaller brands, so that when they are at the right level, they can take over the BDC stake.
Okay, and what about from a Stanbic Bank point of view? How is collaboration viewed, not only public-private, but from the private sector? Is this less risky from a Stanbic Bank point of view?
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. So from our perspective, we view collaboration perhaps at a slightly different level from collaborating at the operation level. I think one of the things that's quite important from our perspective is being able to collaborate with perhaps funders as well that will have a pass-through to the sectors themselves. It's not necessarily always us looking to sort of provide capital directly and have bilateral, if I can call it that, in nature. I mean, we've worked quite closely with players that are industry experts. I think, as you can hear, Rakosidile is talking very particularly about the sector. We as Stanbic are working with the likes of the BDC because we understand that they have that strong underlying knowledge of the sector. That, for us, is what collaboration is. If I extend it a bit further, is one of the things that we've done quite strongly is work hand in hand with the likes of the Botswana Stock Exchange in terms of accessing investor funds from the different pension funds. I think that is one emerging and strong source of collaboration that we can bring forth to players in the market to say, we as banks are not the only ones that can actually provide the funding directly to you, but we know other channels within which you can get funding. Just to sort of give a few examples, one of the things we're able to do is help entities raise funding in the debt capital markets. I think we predominantly know this as bonds. Another way we have is help entities raise money on the equity capital markets, which is through listings or rights issues. So collaboration, obviously, for us is at a slightly different level, but I think our participation in the market, whether it's direct or indirect, is just really the result of the collaboration we're able to do from a funding and investment perspective.
And you also act as a sort of financial matchmaker, so to speak.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I think our dear friends at the Stock Exchange have actually put us to task to be able to do more and develop the capital markets of the country. And I think this is also quite beneficial for the investors because they now have increased access to assets where they can deploy their funding. So it's kind of like a win-win for everyone involved.
Great. Mr. Ducetti, what about your investors from outside of Botswana, from Croatia, South Africa, for instance? Do you think there's more potential down the track for your clients to reinvest here in Botswana?
Yeah, I think you're talking essentially partnerships and call them collaboration. We've heard partnerships. I think in the sector, it's very wide. It starts with partners in the different countries. So we take that seriously, and we've always had partners in Botswana. We've had partners entering new ventures in South Africa, in Croatia, Madagascar. We've just come into Zambia with a product which is an hotel of 77 rooms on the Victoria Falls, with a partner, a local partner that knows the market. So that's the first. And they are interested in investing with us than in the country. So they've said to us, look, if you have opportunities, this partnership works well in these countries, why don't we do something together in Botswana or in other jurisdictions? So that is a first level of partnership. Clearly the partnership with the banks, having worked with Standard Bank here, it's easier to work with Standard Bank in South Africa, the largest funder of our portfolio in South Africa. So that is from a financing point of view that, or they are raising bonds with us. So we, it's always like that. As you grow and you are in more jurisdiction, you take advantage of those partnership with your funders, and that is one of the things that we are doing. So that is the partnership from that point of view. The partnership with the brands, and we're talking about tourism, so I'm coming back to, we work with Marriott, we work with Radisson, we work with sales and marketing of companies that are maybe based outside of the country, but that have got the reach to clients that are going to come to Botswana. So all of that is part of the ecosystem that is very, very important. So I think that the partnerships are very wide in all sectors, from incipients to the running of the projects. And those make for an interesting set of dynamics within the portfolio that we run.
Well, we'll be wrapping up soon, but I'm interested in the land perspective. You were saying investment in some parts of Chobe, for instance, is quite saturated. How does it work in terms of acquiring land or knowing what land is available?
Well, I guess we were very lucky in Chobe at the time. There was a tender for a piece of land where we tendered for, and we won that tender. It's a lot more complicated later on. I must say that is one place where we think the government of Botswana needs to be a little more clear on especially with the concessions in the Okavango and places like that. We've been tendering to get some concessions, and we've never really managed. Now we're looking at some acquisitions, but it's always fairly complicated. Even in joint venture, it is complicated. So I think that's an area where I would suggest that there should be some more clarity on the leases, on the type of concession, and giving opportunities. And in certain way, I would like to believe that having proven in the country that we've invested billions in the country, that there should be a recognition of the effort that one does in a country, and then have some sort of consideration for that.
Yes.
So that's a little hint to to our host country, and I think it's an important one because
a conversation for later.
Conversation for later. But I must say, in other countries where we operate, there is this kind of conversation, and it happens. So we are competing for capital. The capital can go somewhere else, and that is what is happening. We are investing in countries where within very little time we're able to grow our portfolio, because there is this kind of collaboration, again, partnership with the authorities, saying, come and invest here, and we will facilitate, because we see that you've already invested quite a lot. So I think at the end of the day, capital can flow from one place to another, and it's important that we become competitive.
Yes, and I think this conference seeks to open those doors,
Correct.
For instance. And I know that in the next session, where a lot of hopeful entrepreneurs will be pitching to the audiences for funding and for partnerships, there's a lot of hotels vying for money. So what is your advice as industry stalwarts? What's your best advice for these people who are looking to get a foot in the door in the industry? We'll just go down the line. So, Mr. Diakete.
As I said before, empirical data. Get the figures right and do your analysis of the market. Or your project is totally out of the market and it's an innovation or whatever, then you have to take a more risky approach. But get figures, because too many people have burned their fingers by not having the right finger. You don't have a problem in Botswana because there's an incredible stability, economic stability, political stability. In other countries where we operate, that has not been the case. I'm talking about one of the places where we invested a long time ago, and with the ups and downs from a political point of view, it's been quite a challenge because tourism immediately stops coming to a country where there are elections that are creating problems and things like that. So I'm talking about Madagascar, where the tourism really dropped quite a lot during all these years of uncertainty. So I think those political stability is important. But fortunately, we're endowed with political stability and economic stability in this country.
Great. Cross-Kusudile, what is your advice for these hopefuls? What's the best way to get a foot in this door?
I think for BDC, we are a risk taker. We provide patient capital. We look at early stage companies. And the reason we do that is because we are looking for broader impact, not just financial viability. Nowadays, there are many forms of funding that one can access, provided one fulfills certain requirements. For instance, a demonstration that you are going to create a green environment that comes at a cheaper cost. I will advise those who are seeking funding to seriously, just from the beginning, to try and make their projects environmentally compliant, because that enhances the chances of getting cheaper funding. Secondly, I think we want projects that are viable. We don't want projects that we become patient with only for them to collapse along the way. That is why I had earlier on emphasized the need for skin in the game. That as they bring forward their proposals, they need to demonstrate commitment to those projects as well, because you cannot partner with someone who lacks commitment. That is very key for us. And also, I mean, we are operating in an environment that has got its own laws that need to be adhered to. Our expectation is that the projects that come forward, and for them to be successful, in all respects, they must demonstrate adherence to the laws of the country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Keteletsa Bogatsu, you're a hotelier, someone with so much experience in the hospitality industry. What is your best advice for these young entrepreneurs coming up?
Passion, and more passion. Without passion in this industry, Carmen, you are an absolute non-starter. You deal with a lot of different aspects from a human relations, especially point of view. And if you don't have the passion to deal with people on a daily basis, and I'm talking a variety of people, I'm talking from all over the world. If you cannot even, if you speak to yourself and you say, can I sit with different people in a room on a daily basis? And the answer is no. It's not even an non-starter. I know a lot of people take our industry for granted and think, oh, it's just hotels, you just go in it and you run it. It's not as simple as that. It really is not as simple as that. It takes a lot of hard work, especially when you're starting up a new project. There's no sleeping. The relaxation is the other way around. When a facility is already operating, you probably at the most get like 10 hours leisure, and I'm talking on average throughout the week. once you start operating or once you start developing a property, we're talking about you working at least 18 hours of the day and only resting a couple of those hours. It's a lot of hard work, and I think for anybody who wants to start in the industry, they need to realize that there's absolutely no sleeping in this industry when you're starting in it.
Invest in coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. I love the passion that's needed because, yes, it's a very key, I think.
Yeah.
And Ona from Stanbic Bank, what's your best advice?
Yeah, no, thanks, Carmen. I think, being the last speaker, I tend to be at risk of all the points having been covered. But firstly, I'd just like to echo Guido's words around empirical data and just being very close to your numbers and understanding what is driving each point at each period, why this happened, why that happened, and being able to demonstrate that to the person that you are asking to invest in your business. I think far too often you will find, especially with early success businesses, where somebody just knows they're making money, but they're not quite familiar with what's driving that business. I think as you move on to the next level and you're looking for people to come into the business, just be very particular and precise about the empirical data. That's actually what really even works for us from a financing perspective. The closer you are, the more empirical the data you're showing is, the better it is for us. And then the second point I'd just like to overlay is be very targeted and calculated about your growth ambitions. I think there's a tendency at times to be overly optimistic around exponential growth. Whilst that is good from a drive perspective, I think at times it sounds like pie in the sky to investors. So there should be a clear path if you're talking about growth from where you are to where you're going and how that particular investor can help you get there and what's in it for them to get there. So just being calculated and targeted about growth ambitions, I think, would go a long way for them. Thank you, Carmen.
Okay, well, thank you so much. We've heard some very key advice there. Passion, be realistic, but most importantly, know your numbers. So I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you very much, and hopefully this has offered some good advice for those of you out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have another round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen? A big thank you to Carmen and our panelists. Once again, Re Cross Khosidile, Managing Director, Botswana Development Corporation. Mr. Guido Giachetti, Executive Chairman, RDC Group. Mekeletso Bogatu, General Manager, the Grand Palm Hotel, Casino and Convention Resort. Le Re Onalena Kesiabetui, Head of Investment Banking at Stanbic Bank, Botswana. I specifically enjoyed the unpacking of collaboration, or the importance of collaboration and partnerships. I think you cannot, collaboration is the critical ingredient in unlocking and turning, the dreams and the visions of entrepreneurs in this and any other sector really into reality. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. But another two key themes that I think really stood out for me was from Guido and Ona, be realistic. I think that's what I heard, the importance of having empirical data, knowing what drives your business, knowing, why you're where you are in that position is about being realistic. And I think, as an entrepreneur myself, we do, yes, tend to be overly optimistic, even in our projections and what have you. We believe so much in the dream, we believe so much in the vision, that sometimes it's important to step back and bring yourself back to the ground and say, right, what is the real situation? And you can only really discover that through empirical data. And then, of course, the other one that stood out for me was from Keletso. Be passionate. You need grit. You need determination. And definitely you need discipline. If you're going to be on site 18 hours a day, you're going to be looking after guests 24 hours a day. This business is not for the faint-hearted. But this is not to dampen the spirits of those who will be pitching earlier, just maybe giving an opportunity to tweak and slightly pivot the pitch deck if necessary. A quick announcement before we move on. The owner of vehicle registration number B901BMF, apparently your boot is open in the parking lot, so you might want to go and have a look at that and possibly lock your car. Your boot is open. That is B901 BMF. We're now going to get into the next session of this morning portion of the program. Carmen alluded to it a little bit earlier. The session is purely about discovering tourism investment opportunities in Botswana. And as mentioned, there is a number of aspirant entrepreneurs, aspirant investees that are going to be pitching their businesses. And we also have before that a presentation by the Chief Executive Officer at Key Engineering Group, Mr. Emmanuel K.U., who will be talking about solutions for infrastructural development in Botswana. Then we're going to get into another session of panel discussions and then get to the pitch. So ladies and gentlemen, let me call back to the stage Ms. Carmen Roberts, travel writer and presenter and broadcaster at BBC Corporation, to take us through the next few items of the program. Carmen?
Hello again. You must teach me how to do that at the end. Thank you. But before we get underway with the investment projects, we've got a short presentation by Emmanuel Yu, Chief Executive Officer of the Key Engineering Group. And we'll have another presentation, and then we will call up our panel of experts to the stage. So let's just have a couple of quick presentations before we get underway. Thank you very much. Please welcome Emmanuel Yu.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I guess with the video we are done, I can go home now, right? Thank you for that. All right. Okay. My standing here is mostly because for the last 27 years, I've been involved with the operations at the #1 airport in the world for passenger movement and cargo movement, operations. And what we're talking about is about 100 million passengers per year. And the number of takeoffs and landing is 2,800 plus per day. 2,800 plus takeoffs and landing per day at a facility that has 5 runways. Of the 5 runways, 2 outer runways for landing, 2 inner runways for takeoff, then a 5th runway that can operate both on takeoff and landing. Now, I was privileged for the first 10 years of those 27 years to be the chief electrical engineer, reporting to the director of engineering, responsible to make sure that the electrical systems were always operational. You do not want to have a flight on final approach and then lights go out on the runway. So we made sure that's always working. And in that vein, I was able to understand also most of the operations at the airport and be able to go to various facilities and be able to advise them on their own operation. After you master the art of running your own, everybody wants to come and hear what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what it is that you can improve on, and so on and so forth. So that is why I am here today. The second reason I am here today is I happen to be born on the continent from Cameroon. So this, for me, is personal, is passion. I have been to several countries. Just to talk about that. So when we get into the meat of this, you will understand a lot more. So the video was to show you a little bit about what we do, and this is an overview for Key. We do engineering, we do construction quality control, we also do facilities engineering, as well as power quality. Power is very important on the operation of airports. We found out the wrong way at Atlanta on December 17, 2017, where we had a complete outage in this passenger system. All the terminals went out. That particular day, I happened not to be in the city, but within 15 minutes, I was getting calls. And I'll be remiss if I did not tell you that today I have been part of the solution to what occurred in 2017, where we're trying to implement a fix that will enable us avoid for that type of scenario to ever occur at Atlanta Airport. Now, Key Engineering, we talk about partnership, collaborative efforts. So we have collaborating with Michael Baker International, Chuafe, BRTU. And the reason is because we understood very early on that when you go to talk with your client, it is important to be able to offer them a solution to their problem so they don't have to go shopping for the next part of your solution. So if the client comes to you with a situation, you either have the answer in-house or already have partners that are able to provide that solution. So essentially, you give them a turnkey for whatever the situation is that they need to address. We are here today to talk about Botswana. I was privileged to be here during the U.S. trade conference a few months back. I heard the president of this country speak, and then I heard the minister speak. And that's why I came back today, for this particular opportunity. Thank you for that. So we are basically here to partner with the country to help promote tourism as you want it. And we understand that the first facility that everybody encounters when they enter into a country is an airport. And the way they navigate through the airport makes that experience already very encouraging or very disappointing. So we will be looking at all of that as a complete package, and we'll expect the government to tell us how they want to improve their facility, and we tell them, we propose to them how we believe they can best implement it. And because we believe that you know best what you want. I cannot come tell you what I want. I know how all the other airports work. So when I come to you, I'll say, okay, if you want A, I'll give you A with this caveat to it. That's what we're all about. So when the government tells us what exactly they want, then we're in a position to now develop a specific program that will work to their needs, that we'll be able to implement within the time frame allotted and the budget given us. Now, as I said, we have relationship, as I advised earlier, and the government will be the partner in this whole venture. And most importantly, we have experts in our team that are ready to provide a solution. Then we are proponents of technology transfer. As I said, I was born on the continent. So the most important thing that I want you to remember, if you make key a part of your operation, when we're done building the facilities, we will train Botswanan on how to operate them, maintain them. Why? So that at the end of the day, you don't need me to come back and repair things for you when you have the technical know-how for some of the young people that are in your country. That is the end story here, if you take nothing else. So we are looking at international, regional airports. That's why I say you tell us what it is that you're proposing to do, and we come in, we develop various scenarios, and we offer them to you. So we coordinate with all the various agencies, in our case, ICAO here on the continent, and go into all the details as to what is needed to bring the airport to the standard that you want, make it comfortable, make it operational. Tourism, airports, then the tourists want a hotel development, they want to go play golf, they want some luxury lodges. We have partners that are ready to come in and invest into those facilities. And so the goal is to understand the various needs, again, put a package that is customized to your needs. And when we talk about hotel, we're talking about branding as well. So if you need a specific brand, we'll make sure we bring them to you. The advantage of having relationships with a lot of different entities make it easy to afford that. Also, yesterday I heard Air Botswana, Ethiopian Air. I work with Ethiopian Air for a few other things, even with Atlanta Airport. So if we want to, when the facilities are built, the demand for passenger traffic is there, and you need more airline partners, we are also able to negotiate and bring those partners to the table to talk with you. Mixed-use developments and all the sustainability that comes with that, again, we'll be able to put the package for you and make it very simple and smooth. If a tourist comes to the country, God forbid, gets sick, get into a hurt or something, they want wellness centers, hospitals. You don't want them to go back and put in a TripAdvisor. I got hurt and I did not have a facility to go to for treatment. So we make sure we build state-of-the-art facilities so they get their treatment. So on TripAdvisor, they will say, I got hurt, I needed a facility, I went in, it was state-of-the-art, I recommend you go there and not worry about getting sick or getting hurt or anything when you're in the country. So again, packaging will be available. All these facilities, when they're all built, ready to go, what do you need? Public relations. Give people a reason to come to Botswana to use this facility that will justify the cost that you put into building them. So in that vein, I'm going to call on my marketing manager for a few seconds to talk about that part of it so that you can understand what it is that we can offer you. Ms. Anze Mofo, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Come on, cheer up a little bit. It's a beautiful day. We're in Botswana, and you have all the diamonds in the house and the men that afford the diamonds, right? Or not. Anyway, what is all of this stuff without public relations? Really nothing. I'm pretty sure everyone here understands what marketing is for. So you create a product and you tell people to come and get it. But the one thing about Botswana that I've noticed is that it's a very, very big kept secret. We don't want to go to Will Smith, who's at the Okavango Delta. We want to build homegrown celebrities. So what we're creating right now is Key Engineering has engaged its partners in Hollywood to actually make sure that when the airports are built, the airline partners come in, the hotel partners come in, and you have the hospitals and the schools. What happens is everybody else out there doesn't know what's going on in here, right? So what we're trying to do here is to make sure that we create relationships with Botswana and Hollywood, which is the center. And our key thing that we're starting with is to be able to bring, starting with the minister, to Hollywood, starting March, if they're ready, of 2024, to join one of the most prestigious and exclusive and anticipated events of the year, which is the Academy Oscars, so that they can meet with studio chiefs, executives, and bring film into Botswana. Once all of that is done, then we can hire Will Smith. How about that? We give him a job and tell him, you come to Botswana, you make the film in Botswana, you bring people to Botswana, and then you take it back to Hollywood and tell them what you've seen in Botswana so they can come. And we do all of the press releases here. We do all of the movie scenarios in here. And that's Gina. I don't know if any of you know Gina Prince. She's one of the honorees last year who won an Academy Award, and she did the movie Woman King in Benin. And that highlighted Benin. We've done with Ghana, South Africa, and she's ready to come to to Botswana and create that particular scenario. So we want to make sure that we bring public relations into Botswana in a way that will make the rest of the world know and understand what Botswana is up to, besides just diamonds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anzi. Now, I told you I heard your president speak a few months ago. I heard the vice president yesterday talk about joint venture, and I heard the minister talk about tourism. One thing I want to emphasize is Atlanta Airport, before becoming #1, was just a field. It was an airfield with crop dusters. That was it. It was used by farmers. Then there was a visionary at that airport. He used to be the mayor for the city, Maynard Jackson. He had a vision, and he says, build the airport, people will come. Everybody thought he was crazy because they were not seeing the traffic. Guess what? More than 20 years later, they've built the airport. People have come. Maynard Jackson is dead and buried, but his legacy lives on. The airport was renamed after him when he passed. International Terminal was named for him. Highways named for the man. So I'm saying this to say vision, visionaries, very critical to development. It makes you selfless. Now, all of what we just talked about, the team that will be in front of you from the first go all the way down is here. We like to call ourselves a mini United Nations because, as I say, I'm from Cameroon, and there is as well. We have members of the team from Botswana that we are talking to, some members of the team from Ethiopia, some from Nigeria, then of course the American citizens born. But the point is, with that whole team, we are ready to come in and grow with you so that in next 10, 15, 20 years, you will also be another success story. And then we're talking about accessibility to come to Botswana. It's very accessible. Instead of hopping left, right, center to get here, it took me a few days to get here, it will be faster and it will be more enjoyable. But most, don't forget, Botswana now becomes the talk of the world. It's a secret. Until I came here a few months ago, I did not know anything about the diamonds in Botswana. I didn't. But guess what? Now I know about it. Tomorrow, we need to talk about tourism in Botswana so that when you Google tourism, safari, Botswana pops up, not Kenya, but Botswana. Can we do that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel and Anze, for such an inspiring presentation. I love the foresight. I love the foresight that you're including the youth of today and also hoping to get to the Oscars. That's amazing. Let's watch this space. I'm definitely going to be tuning in March to see. Wouldn't that be fantastic if our minister was at the Oscars? I love that marketing foresight. I think that is quite key, and I love that our partners are ready for this future investment. One more presentation before we get underway with our Dragon's Den type segment. We've got Moshie Ratsibe, the Director of Investment and Promotion for the Botswana Investment and Trade Centre. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Program Director. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mushira Tsebe from the Botswana Investment and Trade Center. I work as Director responsible for investment promotion. My portfolio has got a focus on financial services with a bias towards what we call International Financial Services Center. I also look after the tourism businesses, education, health services, and others, including ICT. I don't know whether my presentation is ready now to play. I could do with the help of the flicker. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, it does work. I'm quite impressed, and I must say congratulations to BTO and the Parrot Ministry of Tourism for putting together such a magnificent, well-put conference, so to speak. When I walked in earlier in the morning, I was surprised actually on the second day to see so many people who have filled up the room. And I had a conversation with someone who reminded me the reason why several years ago I decided to jump out of the accounting profession to be where I am today. Normally when you attend finance, account-related functions like these ones, you know that at the end of the evening, everybody gets to be sent home. If ever you are asked to hang around for a bit for a networking session, chances are you'll likely be asked to pay for yourself if ever there is a buy at the back. So I sort of understand why we still have a room filled up. But nonetheless, well done to BTO and the government of Botswana for putting together this wonderful summit. Mine this morning is, thank you, mine this morning is quite a small presentation, very, very brief. I've just been asked to come and share with you around the project facilitation process that we engage in here as government of Botswana, how we facilitate investment projects into the country. As I've said, I work for the Botswana Investment and Trade Center. We're an investment promotion agency. Our role primarily is to attract investors into the country. So we go out using our investment promotion strategy, which has got a very strong route to market, going to the markets to talk to investors about investing and doing business in Botswana. We do have a very interesting component of our mandate, which is export development and promotion. So the business that are already here in Botswana, once you're invested in Botswana, we work with you to take your products then outside the country for export-related purposes. As well, for those that are doing business locally here, we've got a component called Buy Botswana campaign. It's an initiative that we have introduced several years ago, where we are encouraging corporates, large corporates that are here, to work closely with small, medium enterprises to make sure that they support them by buying what is produced and supplied locally, as it were. But even more importantly, through our brand management function as BITC, we have got the mandate of promoting the country, not just for investments, but even more importantly for tourism-related purposes, just building, ensuring that the equity of this brand Botswana, is well known to the world, is strong in the minds of not just investors, tourists, and visitors, and other visitors, as it were. Emmanuel has just said that he never knew about Botswana until recently when he visited here for the first time, about the diamond, about the beef industry that we are so strong in. It just suggests that perhaps we need to do a little bit more as government or government-related agencies, BITC, BTO, and others that have got complementary mandates. The one aspect that I want to talk to you about is the aspect of Botswana One-Stop Service Center. This is where I normally say, this is where the rubber hits the road at BITC. We have a one-stop service center at our head office here in Gaborone, where all investors who have decided to come and set up business here in Botswana come to for facilitation. You may wish to register your business and you've got no idea how to go about it. What we have done as government, we have since transformed the way that government does business, transforming government services by making sure that we are automating them, we are digitalizing them. As a matter of fact, today, if you want to register your business, you can incorporate it from the comfort of your couch, sitting in the USA, sitting in South Africa, and anywhere in the world without necessarily being here. You even do payments that are required for registration online. You don't have to necessarily to be here physically. Of course, there are other requirements that one needs to follow. For example, if you incorporate, you have to ensure that you have got a resident, not just a citizen director, but a resident director, as an example, to make sure that you complete your incorporation. So investors who are here or who may not necessarily be here virtually, they want to set up and register here, they come to our one-stop service center to seek such kind of service. You may wish to register with government for other trade and business-related regulatory requirements. For example, if you're in the manufacturing space, a licensed activity, we will help you with that. Tourism is a licensed activity in terms of if you want to offer a service of a lodge, of a hotel, and stuff like that. You come through us. We work closely with BTO. We will handhold you and make sure that we knock at the right doors and point to the right people to make sure that you get help, and not just help, but the quality of help that we deserve as an investor at the right speed. If you are looking for land, ordinarily commercial land, you want to build a hotel, a lodge in Botswana. What then happens with the land authorities, generally speaking, is that these land parcels are advertised as and when they become available. It may happen every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, depending on the area where you are seeking land. However, as an investor, government understands the agency at which you want to be given land. Through our Botswana One-Stop Service Center, working with other partners such as the BTO, if you are looking for a commercial land to build a lodge, for example, a hotel, you come to BITC. Instead of waiting for 2 to 3 years, 4 years for the local municipalities to advertise the land parcels as and when they become available, we will ensure that government allocates you land directly with speed. So essentially, I often say that we essentially just jump the queue for you. You don't have to queue like others that are just visiting for the purpose of touring the country. As a matter of fact, as BITC, we own a number of factory sites. BDC also, the CEO just spoke here, they also own a number of factory sites. So if you are looking for, okay, I know you are in the tourism space, but just for your own information, just to demonstrate and buttress the point further that government is serious about facilitating investments in Botswana, we own a number of factory sites wherein you are looking for soft land as an investor, we are able to allocate you factory space directly. BITC, BDC, that's what we're able to do. We'll connect you with the right banks to make sure that you are able to be assisted, opening of bank accounts, utility connections. We've got liaison officers in these different government agencies where the procedure or the protocols are such that when we are bringing investors to them, they assist them with speed, with the quality of service that they deserve. Importantly, we've just been having a discussion here, the panel that came out of here, the BDC CEO, mentioning the fact that, one of the things that they consider from a project point of view is really around issues around environment, where you have to comply with certain environmental requirements. Again, as BITC, we have got